As life in America grows more complex and government becomes more intrusive, a growing number of people are forming sovereign living communities. These groups develop lives together without government services or commercial utilities. They provide for their own food, safe water, electricity, and defense. Communities practicing sovereign living set up their own systems for healthcare and education. Proponents say sovereign living communities provide a means of living without supporting what they claim is a corrupt government system. Detractors claim the movement will not provide for the basic needs of the community. A new show called Sovereign Living follows a family as they transition into a sovereign life. The series is centered around John and Catherine Bush, political activists who dropped their political activities for life on the farm. The show was created by John Bush and so far has raised nearly $5,000 on the donation site Indiegogo.com. John Bush is our guest today on the show, and he's here to talk to us about the Sovereign Living movement, his new reality series, and the people fighting against the trend. Welcome to the show, John.
Hey, Gary, thanks for having me.
John, what's behind the current rise in people practicing self-sufficiency?
Well, I think there's a lot behind it. Primarily, people are becoming fed up with centralized institutions, with the government especially, and they're beginning to see that the emperor wears no clothes, and depending on this institution of government to solve all of life's ills has turned out to be quite an empty promise. So I think people are recognizing that, and people are also just realizing that the best way to live life is in a natural, decentralized, simple way. So we're excited that many people are embracing this culture of sovereign living.
Now, John, you've used the phrase tyrannical in reference to the current system that we live in as Americans. Why do you find it so?
Well, there's a lot of oppression and top-down coercion going on. The system itself is based on coercion. The state's the only entity that has the ability to force people to do things against their will. So when you couple a system like that with some evil actors, it's only a matter of time before these evil actors use this institution to further their own goals at the expense of everyone else. You know, you got the National Security Agency spying program that's been leaked recently. You got the Department of Homeland Security labeling peaceful patriots as potential domestic terrorists. The police state is growing at an immense rate. The federalization and militarization of local police forces. I think if people think it's not going to affect them and they shouldn't have to worry about it, they need to think twice, because even if you're Joe, good citizen, you may in fact find a boot crushing your face from a simple traffic stop. So I think it's important for everyone to get involved, because there is a lot of tyranny around here in the United States of America.
John, in the sovereign living community that you advocate, you often talk about not having a structured police force. How could crime be resolved without police?
Well, first of all, unfortunately, there's a lot of criminals that fill the ranks of police forces, and more often than not, it's these criminals that do most of the harm because they have the authority that comes along with being a police officer. People aren't able to fight back, and if they resist, they often find themselves in even more trouble than they would have been had they not resisted. But I think there's plenty of alternatives that are already in place. And this isn't a pie-in-the-sky theory. You already have private security that polices particular neighborhoods. On top of that, you have community watch groups, neighborhood watch. So we're strong proponents of people self-organizing and either utilizing market functions like private defense agency, or just organizing some sort of Liberty Bell telephone network and messaging and alert system and getting all their neighbors on the same page. And, I really have a strong feeling that even if there were to be morning, afternoon, and evening walks where a couple or a family walks the neighborhood, I think that would dramatically reduce crime more than increasing police budgets. So unfortunately, there seems to be more harm than good coming out of municipal police departments these days, especially in large cities like Chicago. And I think if people were to take it upon themselves to protect their families and their communities, find a lot more peace in this world.
Now, John, if there's a community defense program in this sovereign community that you advocate, could there eventually be vigilantism and people acting on their own, developing into gangs, if you will? How would you prevent that type of activity?
Mm-hmm. Well, the status quo already has gangs and vigilantism and organized criminal syndicates. The difference is in a genuinely free society, there isn't one entity that's able to be a monopoly criminal syndicate. And if anybody tries to resist them, again, they have that air of legitimacy that comes with being a public official or a law enforcement officer, to where if you try to fight back, you end up getting a felony or you get killed. It's very possible that vigilantism would take place, or these criminal private defense agencies could turn into large criminal syndicates. But the beauty of it is we're advocating voluntary participation. So the minute a private defense agency is no longer in an individual's best interest, they can withdraw their consent, they can withdraw their financial support, and these agencies will find that it's much more difficult for them to continue to thrive and exist whenever people are no longer funding them or participating. Likewise, in a genuinely free society, in a sovereign society, people would be more able to defend themselves. For example, here in Texas, everyone thinks it's a big cowboy Second Amendment bastion, but it's actually illegal to open carry a firearm. In a genuinely free society, in the sovereign community I would like to exist in, people would be able to openly display their firearms, which most people are well aware, thanks to the great work by John Lott, More Guns, Less Crime, that an armed society is a polite society. So that's a great question. It's possible that criminal syndicates would arise in the absence of this municipal police department status quo that we have. But I'm willing to risk it, and I'm willing to venture to guess that absent this monopoly, that, again, if you resist the current criminal syndicate, which is the state, the way I see it, you could be shot or killed or arrested with a felony. Whereas if you resist a private agency, people would see it as a just action and you simply defending yourself and your family. I think there's a big difference there. And again, like I said, I'm willing to give it a try. It's an experiment, but I think the status quo is no longer serving the best interest of the people.
Now, John, let's talk about the self-sustaining communities and general needs. Electricity, for example. Technology has arisen to the point where solar panels and hydroelectric power is actually in the grasp of average people. How would you utilize these technologies in your self-sustaining community?
Sure. We're encouraging people to, take slow steps towards becoming more self-sufficient. I don't know that we'll ever be 100% self-sufficient. We'll always need to rely on others in order to fulfill our wants and needs. But I think if we take slow steps, you don't have to completely uncouple from the power supply, but the centralized power systems, municipal energy, is very vulnerable, whether it's just bureaucratic snafus, whether it's a natural disaster, or whether it's a lack of resources at the city level. It's possible for the power to go down. The power regularly goes down. So we're beginning to explore solar energy. It's something we visit in Sovereign Living, the show, episode 1. And one thing we want to do before the end of the year, or at least maybe in January, February, is get a few solar panels and run our refrigerator and our freezer on those. So in the event of some sort of power down, we'll still be able to maintain a large supply of food and have our slaughtered chickens in the freezers. So a good first step, I think, would be for people to check out solar panels. It could be expensive to power your whole house. Just pop a couple solar panels up and supply power to some of the essentials, again, like your refrigerator or a freezer, so you can continue to store food in the event of a power down.
Now, John, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about what a sovereign community's economy would look like. How would commerce function? And I also want our viewers to be able to take a look at the new trailer for your show, Sovereign Living. So we'll be right back after the break, right here on WHDT World News with John Bush.